8.G.5-9, we're going to cover in the same order we did in class. So we're going to start with G6. I'm going to quickly go through the answers. Number 2 was B. Number 5 was 17. It's the longest side. Number 9 was B. For G7, number 1 was 17. Number 7 was 81 feet. For G8, number 4 was 4.5 miles. Number 6 was 6.7 units. Then we came back to G5. Number 2, measure of angle 7 is 105 degrees. The measure of angle 8 is 75 degrees. Number 7 is 110 degrees. 10, yes, they're similar. They have the same angle measures. Then G9, number 4 was D. Number 9 was 1,143.2. Oops, I'm going to zoom in anyway. Okay, 1,143.2 pi cubic inches. Now, if you got all those, that's great. If you missed some things, we're going to go back through and look at the work. On G6, which one forms a right triangle? You can test all your choices, but they're going to have to be plugged into a squared plus b squared equals c squared. The longest side is always C. And then the other two can be A or B. It doesn't matter which one is which. So when I plug in to my calculator, 8 squared, which is 64, plus 6 squared, which is 36, I get 100. And 10 squared is 100. So yes, this is a right triangle. The other three are no, they're not going to be equal. Number 5, explain how you know which side is opposite the right angle. Well, it has to be 17 because it's the longest side. It's the largest number. It didn't ask you to work anything out there. Number 9, select a triangle that's a right triangle. Once again, we can use a squared plus b squared equals c squared. The longest side has to be C, so it has to be 17. And then 8 and 15 are A and B, and it does not matter the order on those. But when we go through and say 8 squared plus 15 squared, we get 289. And 17 squared is 289. And that's true. It is a right triangle. The other three are false. The next page, G7, number 1. What's the length of the hypotenuse? This was actually pretty much the same problem that we just did on the previous page. We did not know 17, so we'll go ahead and plug these in. We know that has to be C because it's opposite of the 90-degree angle. And we get 289 is equal to C squared. And then to get C by itself, we'll just square root both sides, so undo C squared. And we get 17. Number 7, we're going to describe. A bird is sitting at the top of a tree that's 62 feet tall. It spots an appetizing piece of bread on the ground 52 feet away from the foot of the tree. If it flies in a straight line down to the breadcrumb, how far does it fly? Round your answer to the nearest foot. So I'm going to draw a picture when it's asking about something really descriptive and it doesn't give a picture already. So we have this bird sitting at the top of a tree. And the tree is 62 feet tall. It spots a piece of bread on the ground. I might even note this is the bird, this is the bread. And it's 52 feet away from the foot of the tree. So 52 feet from the foot of the tree to the bread along the ground. It flies in a straight line down to the breadcrumb. So it's going to fly from the top of the tree to the breadcrumb. How far does it fly? That's what it wants to know. Well, I am going to assume that the tree being vertical and the ground being horizontal would meet at 90 degrees. And then we can go to Pythagorean theorem and plug in 62 squared plus 52 squared equals c squared. That value is 6,548 equals c squared. And then to get c by itself, we'll square root both sides. We get c is 8.91 ... And it does round to 81. So 81 feet. Standard G8. Number 4. Lisa's school is located 1.6 miles north of her house. I'm going to go ahead and draw this description. So we have her house and her school. And so this is 1.6 miles. And once again, there's her house. That's the school. The pool is located 4.2 miles east of her school. So there's the pool east, 4.2 miles. What's the shortest distance between our house and the pool? So we want to know this value, which we know is going to be c because north and east meet at 90 degrees. So we're going to plug into Pythagorean theorem. We're going to square both a and b, add them together. And the result is 20.2 is equal to c squared. I'm going to square root both sides to get c by itself. And we square root to get 4.49 ... which does round to 4.5 miles to the nearest tenth. Number 6, find the distance between points A and B. So I drew a right triangle by creating a third point. There's different ways to get this third point. One way is to just look at your ordered pairs you've got. A is 1, 3, and B is -2, -3. And I could take the x value of one and the y value of the other, which gives me this ordered pair 1, -3. I could have also picked this point over here that took the x value -2 and the y value 3. So either way, I get a right triangle. Because of that, I see that's 3 units wide and 6 units tall. So I'm going to plug that into Pythagorean theorem to get 3 squared plus 6 squared equals c squared, because c is the diagonal that we're looking for. And 3 squared plus 6 squared is 45. That equals c squared. And then when we square root both sides, we get c by itself, which is 6.70 ... And rounded to the 10th place, that's 6.7. G5, number 2. Number 2 is asking for angles 7 and 8. This is one of those common figures that we see drawn where you have a set of parallel lines and it tells us they're parallel, C and D, cut by a transversal line. And it's made up of 8 different angle measures, but only 2 types. So 4 of them will be one measure and the other 4 will be the other. So I've got this angle here is 75. We want to know angle 7. Well, they're supplementary. They add up to 180. So measure of angle 7 plus 75 equal 180. And the result, if we solve that little equation, is that the measure of angle 7 is equal to 105. You could solve this without an equation, but it is something you can do. And then from angle 8, I can just look at the fact that it is vertical to angle 7. Oops. So it is also 75 degrees. By the way, angle 4 is 75 degrees, and so is angle 2. Angle 7 we found was 105, so is angle 5, so is angle 3, so is angle 1. Next, number 7, We want to know the measure of angle Q. Well, this is one that's going to require us to solve for x by setting up an equation using some relationship we know, and then we'll go back and get the angle measure. So what I would do is notice that these three angles that it gives us are inside a triangle, so they add up to 180. So 9x plus 2 plus 4x plus 10 plus x equal 180. 9x plus 4x plus x is 14x. 2 plus 10 is 12. So we get 14x plus 12 equal 180. Subtract 12 from both sides to get 14x equal 168. Divide both sides by 14 to get x is 12. So that helps us, but it's not the answer. It's asking for the measure of angle Q. So the measure of angle Q is 9x plus 2, and we found x is 12. So 9 times 12 plus 2 is 110 degrees. Number 10, these are similar. We can find this pretty quickly. Angle E is 20 degrees and D is 90. So if we say 180 minus 20 minus 90, we get 70 degrees remaining for angle C here. And then over here, we have 90 and 70. So if we say 180 minus 90 minus 70, we get 20 degrees once again for this angle. So we have 20, 90, and 70 degree angles for both of these triangles, so they are similar. G9, number 4, looking at a can of pasta sauce, and it gives us several facts about it. And it asks for the height. It tells us to use 3.14 for pi and round the answer to the nearest tenth. So the first thing I'll do is notice that this is a can, which tells me we're looking at a cylinder. And then I'm going to write down the formula for volume of a cylinder. V equal pi r squared times height, and I can get that from my reference sheet. Now I notice a few things. It actually gives me the volume. It holds 50 cubic inches. That's volume. Use 3.14 for pi. It does not give me radius, but it does give me the diameter is 3. So the radius is half of that, 1.5. We'll square that. And we don't know the height. We're looking for that. What is the height? We don't know. Okay, so we'll simplify this. 3.14 times 1.5 squared is 7.065. We'll multiply that by h. Divide both sides by 7.065. And we get that the height is 7.07 ... Rounded to the tenths place is 7.1. Number 9, you have to pay attention to details. What's the volume of the basketball shown? Write your answer in terms of pi and round to the nearest tenth. So I'm going to notice a couple of things. We're talking about a basketball. This is a sphere. And the formula is V equal 4/3 pi r cubed. So I'm going to plug in everything I know. It says in terms of pi, so leave pi in your answer. It gives us the radius. It's halfway across the circle, which is 9.5, and we're going to cube that. So at this point, I'm going to go to my calculator and type 4/3 times 9.5 cubed, and I get 1,143.16 repeating, and I'm going to leave pi alone. I did not plug in anything for pi in my calculator. I ignored it, and it rounds to this answer.